Right, hello everyone. Thank you for inviting me in today. Great opportunity to meet you guys and kind of see where your thinking is and what you're struggling with in terms of getting the message out there and getting people to join you in your efforts. So I work at the Eden Project, and well, I'm from Sweden originally, hence my slightly strange name and my weird accent, but I've been working at Eden for about 3.5 years now, and before that I did, I started with international affairs, global politics and environmental issues, and I went on to work after my environmental management and policy studies, I went on and did some work for a business in the Middle East around sustainability and tried to get them on the right track. And I tell you, I've probably done all the mistakes you can possibly do when it comes to, trying to get all these close to 300 people from all sorts of places, India, Philippines, Western world, wherever, to actually start to, sort your waste, recycle, turn the water off, stuff that so many people have never ever bothered about in their lives. So how do you start to change that stuff, and how do you get people to realize why this stuff matters? So no matter how much of the environmental management policy I've done, all the businesses can tick all the boxes in terms of installing the technical stuff that would help you reduce carbon, reduce energy usage and so on. It boils down to people in the end, because if you can't get the people to actually, change their behaviors and use the buildings better in a better way, then it feels like there's a big trick we're missing. So for me, coming to Eden was I found that I felt that we've got a few things right at Eden, and the main thing I would like to share with you is about people and people's connections to the stuff that supports us. So before I go on and try and get to that, do one thing, actually, like Dara was saying, there are quite a few things that suggest we do, but we are going to, hope you don't mind, we're going to go just outside. There are 2 tables on the little terraced area, and I would like us to do just a little activity which you'll realize, where I'm trying to get to. It's called the coffee trail. And if you need a little bit of inspiration, I'm going to explain to you what we're going to do out there. But these are some images from previous sessions I've done. So we're going to, I always thought we might have a cup of coffee. A cup of coffee, a simple commodity. We almost have it every day, and we pretty much, tend to take it quite for granted. But what I'd like you to do here is use the pens and try and map out, draw, write, draw arrows, describe the process that's involved in getting that 1 cup of coffee to you and your breakfast table. So that's a coffee plant over there to get you thinking. So I want you to think about the growing, the harvesting, the processing, the transport, everything involved for you to have that coffee in your morning. So work as a team and discuss the process, and then I will interrupt you after, say, 5 or 10 minutes, and we will see how things are going. Does that sound okay? Yeah. Yeah? Okay, here you go.
Well, you've got the land. You've got to get the land before you can get the plants in, which is the other thing. Like in some places, I can't remember where it is, but they're like growing coffee in South America and stuff. It's better to grow it in certain areas, but it's quicker to grow it in other areas. So but if you grow it in certain areas, it's bad for the rest of the environment and stuff as well. So you've got to think about that.
So we need the area.
Over here needs to be sort of the processing and shipping.
Yeah, so the whole kind of shipping and roasting.
Yeah, transport as well. Got the manual milking.
Huh?
Oh no, sorry.
No, these are tubes coming up. Yeah.
Now I've noticed that you've already, by automatic, started to map out some of the environmental aspects on this trail. I'd like to add a second dimension to this trail. So that is, can you make a little highlight where the environmental impacts occur? I saw some.
Yeah. So
positives, negatives. And then also think about the social and economic impacts. Where do they occur? So a little pound sign or something that indicates where the money goes. Who are the people benefiting from what, where?
Yeah, that's more important than the cow.
Yeah.
What should I write? Can we maybe just get a quick summary from each of the tables? What you found out? First of all, what you found out about the trail, or what? Any ideas?
It's very convoluted, and a lot longer than I thought at first.
It comes from poorer parts of the world because it's cheaper to get it there than it is to produce it here, and so we exploit them and how we use slave labour and don't give them any good money, and we bring it over here for a cheap price and sell it to our people.
Think about where in the world you are as you go along. Is this in Cornwall or is it in other places?
I don't think Cornwall's warm enough to grow coffee very effectively.
Yeah, there's like a roasting and.
So how do they roast them? With charcoal or something?
No, I think they use the shells and the stuff that comes off the bean.
Oh, as the fuel.
As the fuel. I think I've got a feeling that's how it's done.
It kind of brings it home to you because like you kind of know these things, but when you start to plot it out, you just realise how far that seed's come to actually make a cup of coffee, and so the long processes and the amount of global warming, the amount of transport involved in it. There's quite a lot that goes on for one little cup of coffee.
So extremely complex relations going on here, and for that one cup of coffee that we take kind of pretty much for granted to have that every day. I think, I wanted to do this exercise with you, exactly for that reason. I think it opens your thinking up to everything that's involved, the story behind a product, if you like. And it's a dead simple exercise. You could do it pretty much, replace the coffee with whatever you would like to start a conversation about. So if it's a matter of, you going back to some friends or fellows here at the uni in some other group, you might want to encourage a little bit of a conversation about, it's about sustainability, isn't it? You highlighted the environmental, social and economic factors. So if you want to find a way to get people thinking along the lines that I think we should be thinking anyway, I'm sure you'd agree, then I find this exercise quite useful. So I don't know, there's a bit of nodding. Is that? Yeah? So we're gonna, thank you for doing this, and as I said, feel free to try it with your friends or colleagues. Who would like to have a go at what that is? Yes, that's the coffee plant, coffee bean. This, any thoughts? That's for all the tea lovers in the room. Yeah, I had to have something. That's the tea plant. Yeah. You think it's a cow? Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I think that might be right. Probably a local cow, I think. But basically, so you could try that exercise with whatever you wish. But basically, why I did this, because understanding these connections, the global connections, because you saw that there was stuff there that we only get from other places of the world. So we wouldn't we wouldn't just, stop drinking coffee probably, because well, we are sustaining communities in other places by drinking coffee, but it's understanding what you can do, using your wallet as well as wallet. We like to say, use your wallet as your weapon, because you can choose to buy a fair trade coffee instead of, well, the stuff that's not fair trade, because then you take a stance, supporting what's good. But I think it's really key for us to, when we think about, well, if we want to become more sustainable, that we lift our perspective to the global level and realize that we all depend on stuff that comes from elsewhere, and that we're all stewarding this place together. It's the first kind of step if we're talking about, well, saving the planet, if you like, but that it is that understanding and that connection. And there you go. So as I said, look out for what's better to buy. And by asking questions, this is what Dara's slide, educate yourself. That's where I'm getting to, basically. But it's asking these questions. So look at a thing, something, and you want to dig deeper. What's behind that cup of coffee? What's the story of that T-shirt, or whatever it might be? So ask questions, and this is something I find coming back over and over again when we deal with businesses at Eden who come on our program. They go back and they start to ask their suppliers questions that some of these guys never ever thought about before. So nobody asked me we just supply you with that stuff. I don't know, we get it from somewhere else, but we don't know. But that business then going back and asking them. But I want to know more about where this material actually comes from in the first place. You encourage them to really look closer at what they do. So I think that's one key thing to do. And these stories, the stories that sit behind, if it's a cup of coffee or whatever it might be, the way you engage around that, I think that if you might also make it your trick, not even to mention the word sustainability, but you just use different language, but you're actually addressing exactly that one thing. But because, well, we find that people have preconceived ideas about the whole kind of environmental movement. A lot of people think it's all about, it's all boring, it's all nut cutlets and socks and sandals, and so many people just don't want to go anywhere near that stuff. So and I'm sure you kind of recognize that when you go to Eden, we like to talk about, well, it's about creating a better future for ourselves. So showing people what's possible to create, and it's all about doing stuff better, and but not necessarily preaching about don't do this and don't so more. Well, we find that carrots have quite some effect rather than using sticks all the time. But you might have recognized this little exhibit from Eden, the plant takeaway. So actually just showing just how dependent we are on the stuff that we, well, everything that we use, from clothes to the stuff that we eat to the materials in our home. So this exhibit, that's where every little thing is, everything that's made from plants or is kind of removed one at a time. And in the end, there's the dead cat because he can't have his milk, because the milk comes from the cow, which eats the grass, and so on. So that's the kind of essence, the underlying message of Eden. And then, this is how we try to make things relevant to people, so that people need to feel that, it's, well, I love chocolate, and then I can start to think about that product and the whole, you could do a chocolate trail, and you could start a conversation about that as a product, or the fair trade banana. So we try to bring people to Eden and encourage this exploration of the story behind different things. I'll let you read this. But I think I hadn't appreciated just how powerful stories are before coming to Eden. Stories, and we tell lots of them at Eden. And you explored the story of coffee just now. But they're so powerful when it comes to engaging people. And, for you guys around engaging people with sustainability, you might want to, carefully select a few really powerful stories that people can relate to, and you'll see that you can engage better or more easily with people if they feel that there's a connection. So if I could tell you, one thing similar to what Dara said, it's about, we need to learn about our life. We need to learn about the stuff that sustains us, the stories of things that we use every day. Because only when we've got that understanding can we, then we might start to, care about these things and wanting to steward them, sustain them. So this is, if you're an individual, or if you're a business, finding stuff out is the place to start. So that could be anything from mapping out your whole organization. Where does the energy impact occur, or down to your suppliers, where, asking them questions. So finding out as much as you can will help you make informed choices. Will also encourage others to think and to look differently at things. I'd say that is the place where you want to start. And there's just one thing I'd also, and this is maybe where we can open up for a bit of a discussion and questions and stuff, is because you guys, you're here, you're kind of the already converted, if you like. So you probably know how important this is, but the next step is, I think, for you to go out and try and get others to join, is really a matter of, a lot of it will be about the language you use and your approach to how you communicate the stuff, because what we found works really well at Eden, and this is something that a lot of our, the people that engage with us take away, is the fact that you can get quite far if you take on a very optimistic approach. A bit of humor is always good, because it just, you'll see that people start to buy in and drop their kind of barriers and think, well, actually, it's all about creating a better future for ourselves. Who wouldn't sign up for that, So changing the language a little bit is, I think that is very key to try and get somewhere with this stuff. So on that note, I would say thank you. Thanks for doing the coffee trail with me before. And any questions or comments, thoughts, feel free. Yeah.
I've been trying to get fair trade as your listening to box and I've had quite
a lot of people saying they don't like the fair trade coffee that I've chosen for them. So I've kind of backed down a little bit and allowed them Rainforest Alliance coffees and teas.
Yeah.
Is there any real difference between the two of them? You know, is Rainforest Alliance like at least a decent second best, or is it on a par?
Rainforest Alliance has had some criticism against them over the past, well, a couple of years back, I would say. I think as a result of that, they have shapen up. I'm not fully up to date what the status is at the moment, and what kind of, what the criteria are as well, if you compare to the fair trade label. I have a feeling it's that the Rainforest Alliance is more, the emphasis is more on conservation and the rainforest protection rather than the people side of things and the communities. So I don't dare to answer that, because I'm just afraid I might give you the wrong. Yeah, but I think it's a good, if the guys are happy to go for that for now, then that's a step in the right direction, and then you might want to revisit that at some stage and actually, I don't know, pull together a little workshop where you actually get them to explore the differences, say, so you have one group looking at the fair trade stuff and the other one's looking at the Rainforest Alliance, and get them in deciding in the end what's best. Yeah, why not? So that's all right, but make a little bit of fun out of it. So yeah, why not a blindfold coffee tasting session where you do a little thing about it? Yeah.
Coffee chair, it's really, really useful exercise, and I agree. Use your wallet as a weapon. But perhaps when it comes to fair trade, it's still the standards still, I think, aren't quite good enough, and it still doesn't mean that you're affecting the sustainability of the transport, that impact. So, what would you suggest, or how much more can you do apart from buying better products than ones aren't fair trade? What would you suggest people can do more to help that?
Yeah, so obviously it's difficult to find a local or Cornish coffee, a locally grown coffee. I don't know. I probably wouldn't want to try it in the first place. No. But so the kind of, you're thinking, of course we should try and support our local markets as much as possible. And there's some fantastic local produce. I think it's so much about getting people excited about the good stuff that we can produce here, and just, showing the taste and difference in some of the stuff, that actually the stuff we grow here is, tastes way better in a lot of times. So in addition to selecting fair trade, local and seasonal produce, it might be a matter of looking over your habits a little bit and see, do I need to have, I think that will come, it's a next step that will come to you kind of naturally. Once you have started to engage with these things, you will take those steps, or you will take those decisions yourself, whether you decide, well, actually I don't need a third t-shirt from H&M, it's just, it's going to make no difference to my life. And yeah, I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but that sort of stuff. Yeah.
About to choose the local product or to import product from other regions, I think we have to take a life cycle view, because some kind of agricultural product they are very water intensive. Then it's better not to buy from water scarce region. Like nowadays we buy a lot of cotton from Egypt, where it's very this water scarce. Although they have better quality of the cotton.
That's right.
So
you want
in this globalization context, it's better to take this life cycle view to think over the whole life of this product. where's the best location to buy them. Not only focus on local, because sometimes it's not always more sustainable when we buy some local product.
No, that's a very good point. And I was kind of, well, I guess because I'm a big food lover, I automatically start to think about food when you think about buy stuff locally. But actually, absolutely, there is you have to be careful with where you where in terms of all sorts of products. That you're right. When you look at the life cycle of that product and if it's a really water intense process to produce that product, then you might not want to be in the middle of a desert doing that.
In Australia, because they want to have a local product, they want to have a local rice. So they grew the rice in Australia, but there is not the right place to grow rice.
Yeah.
Rice is a really water-intensive product.
Yeah, and I think I get optimistic. When I look at some businesses, I was just on a recent study trip actually to Interface Floor. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Interface, but I tell you, I was never excited about carpets before. I particularly hated carpets, especially when someone decides to put them in a bathroom. But anyway, Interface Floor does carpet tiles. They're pretty much the world's leaders in terms of carpet tiles. And they are very, they're really, they're on the forefront of their sustainability. And they're really integrating and embedding that throughout the whole organization. And they are looking very much into the whole life cycle of their carpet. And you see that there are a couple of other inspiring examples that are leading the way and kind of pushing for that kind of the full life cycle assessment of a product. And the Interface guys, they were saying that they were annoyed at the current marketing, which is all about marketing 100% something. Well, how do I explain this? Basically, you can go for a organic T-shirt or a fair trade T-shirt, like 100% organic or 100% fair trade. But they wanted to get to a place where the product is marketed more like as if you were buying a car. When you buy a car, it does this many miles to the gallon. It's got this. It's got that. So they wanted a label. Well, what do they call it again? But basically, just the stuff that defines that product. They wanted that instead of just going for it's 100% fair trade. But they wanted the full story because that's where they felt that they could be honest enough and proud enough of their products to say, we used this much water to produce this product, this much carbon was involved, and so on. And then it's down to the consumer it's much easier to make a fully informed decision based on that more comprehensive marketing. Yeah?
A lot of what the Eden Project does, I think, is to change the minds of consumers and their thinking. Do you think that there's enough done to change the minds of corporations and big companies that are the ones that are able to change the sourcing of products and the transport issues and the stories of the materials? They're the ones that are able to change those things. Yeah. Although we can make choices in what we buy on a small scale, on a local scale, they can change them with it on a much larger scale. Do you think that it's important to start trying to change the minds of those companies?
Yeah, and I think I'm fairly optimistic actually, because I've been looking around quite a lot lately, and what I've realized is that the ones in the forefront, they actually, they see this also, they're setting themselves a competitive advantage. And the guys who are, I always say this, that what they do is that they are challenging the laggards and the old, the old way of doing things. They're increasingly, they're increasingly running ahead, and the guys, the laggards, they are just the ones who don't, who don't see the point of going down that route. They're seriously losing out, because increasingly, as you know, you have customers who are demanding for more sustainable products. They want to know the whole story behind it. And so that growing group of consumers, but also, if businesses, buying something from another business also have, increasingly demand greater transparency. We want to know about your carbon impact. We want to know about this and that. So I would say the ones that have really, like Interface, as one example, are really challenging the ones that are the slow ones, if you like. One thing to watch out for is, of course, greenwashing, and there are some big hitters with some big PR departments that could easily, create an image that would suggest that this is a leader, somebody who's doing everything right. But as I would say that it's a very risky business to do that nowadays, especially with social media, with internet, immediate access to information, and you could bring down a company's reputation in a matter of minutes with social media, with the groups that gather online. So that's the big kind of, that's why it's probably very risky to go down the greenwashing route. But I get positive when I do see, businesses like Interface, Patagonia, businesses that really truly are embedding this and realizing that actually it makes good business. It's good business practice. They offer a better product. They get more, more customers wanting their stuff. So, and they reduce the risks. So it's all good business practice for the ones who get it. Yeah. The last one, sorry, I'm going on.
I mean, it's great what you're doing. I've got a sort of a problem, something occurred to me though, is are we not, by generating business that is dealing with more sustainable products and fair trade and the rest of it, are we not simply stuck in the same mindset that means that, well, it's fine because I'm buying an organic t-shirt rather than an unorganic, and that's fine. Whereas in reality, we are running out of resources, the population is expanding too rapidly, we're heading for collapse. Should we not be thinking more about unpicking the mindset that the desire, if you like, to consume?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the consumption is the main problem, the consumption patterns in the Western world. I would say, well, that's way more the problem than population, because in fact, birth rates are declining, and it's just, we live longer, and the problem is that we're all striving to have the Western kind of lifestyle of consumerism. But the whole kind of the sustainability kind of this, I think it forces, it does create a lot of innovative thinking. People are more and more looking at alternative ways of, you maybe don't have to buy the product. We lease it to you, and you make use of the service that product provides you with, and then we take it back. But absolutely, it's got to be about, alongside opting for a better product. That means, a product that will last longer. You won't have to dispose of it after a year. It will stay with you. So I think it's a matter of, again, changing, instead of a pair of sneakers that you throw away, they don't last forever, present the beauty of a pair of leather boots that will last a lifetime or something. So yeah, no, it definitely needs addressing alongside finding better more sustainable products, but not that we would carry on consuming like we are, because yeah, by no means is that sustainable.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.